Welcome to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Keenan Lake is the author of the book My Daddy Taught Me That, published by Welcome, a social worker and activist. You can like this show's fan page at www.facebook.com/The Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Feel free to post any comments, questions, or requests for his book on the fan page. Now let's go into the studio with your host, Mr. Keenan Lake, and co-host, Marcus Select.
Mr. Lake, how are you doing?
Doing well. Thank you, folks, for joining us on another episode of the Keenan Lake Show.
Yes,
how
sir.
are you today, Mr. Select?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing fine, and I trust that all is well in Asheville. And everybody, I want you to welcome the author, the activist, as well as a phenomenal person, Mr. Keenan Lake. Thank you so much, man, for tuning in. Keenan, man, talk to the people and tell them a little bit about your website and your book before you get started in the content today.
Well, again, the website is mydaddytaughtmethat.com. The website can tell you all about the book. It gives you information about the book, which is also My Daddy Taught Me That. But it also talks about the new program that I've started, which is a men's development program where I work with young men ages 12 through 19, trying to transition from that adolescent teen age to early adulthood and trying to teach these young men how to be responsible men in our society. Mm-hmm. And again, the book, My Daddy Taught Me That, it focuses on a little bit about my father, what a great man he was and what he meant to me. And it also focuses on trying to inspire, inform, and educate our men in society today, primarily about being better role models, better fathers, better care providers for our families.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's a fine read, a great read for those of you that are used to reading books or e-books or things of that nature. It's a different kind of read because Keenan typically writes like he talks. So he's not very complicated, but he's very thorough. And so you want to pick that book up. Again, Keenan, they can pick that book up at mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Is that correct?
That is correct. You can pick it up at mydaddytaughtmethat.com. And if you can't get on the internet, you can get it at Barnes & Noble, and you can get it on Amazon.
Right. And we want you to stress also that that's a read not only for single parents, but also educators and parents in general, and those that may be working with kids in any capacity. Keenan, let's get right to the content for the day, man. What you got going on for this particular show?
Well, today I want to talk about how children imitate us as parents, care providers, and adults. I want to talk about, I like to call it monkey see, monkey do, okay? But before I get into the content of the show, I want to send my prayers and hearts go out to the victims and the families in Boston this past week. There was a tragic incident that took place up there. I'm glad they finally got that resolved. Mm-hmm. And also, for those who don't know, my hearts and prayers go out to everyone in China. There was a massive earthquake in China this morning. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are injured over there, so wanted to send my prayers and shout out to them as well. That's
right. Yes, we do as well. Our condolences from SIBN Radio, from the Keenan Lake Show. Keenan Lake and myself and all of the staff send our condolences, especially to those who lost limbs and loved ones within the last several tragedies, the one in Texas as well as the one in Boston and in China. But there again, why the Keenan Lake Show is important, because that's a troubled time, and sometimes our youth don't know how to process things. So it's, as you were saying, Keenan, it's good for us to make sure that we are processing as, mature as possible, you know.
Exactly. So right now I'm going to talk about, again, how our youth and stuff, how they follow us. And I'm going to read a quote from James Baldwin, who's an African-American novelist and short story writer. And the quote goes, this is a quote, it says, "Children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they have never failed to imitate them." In short, basically what that means is our youth, our children are watching us, and everything that we do, everything that we're showing them, they're picking it up. They're imitating us. They're looking at what we do. They can hear our words, and this is what I want to talk about. Being a social worker, I go into a bunch of homes and a lot of the issues are parents may be doing drugs around the child. Parents primarily smoking marijuana around the kids, and we're growing up in different times today, Coach. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is this: when I grew up, it was like this. My mom, my dad, my grandparents, they could have been the biggest drug dealers on earth, the biggest drug users on earth, but I would have never knew. Right. They would have never exposed me to that. They would have never allowed me to see that. In today's society, and what we have today is we have a bunch of parents who do any and everything in front of their child and act like it's okay and it's cool. And it's like, you can tell your child, don't do this. I don't want you using drugs. I don't want you smoking marijuana. Mm-hmm. But if they see you do it, it doesn't matter what you say. They're going to do what they see you do.
Well, that's the title of the show today, too. We put, and you and I were talking off air. I put, a youth may not listen, but will imitate you, And it's
exactly.
Partially because they are in the they're in the meek and mode stage, M&M, for those of you that are taking notes. They're in the meek and mode stage, and they're most impressionable in their early stages of development. And so, without getting into all the semantics of that, they catch more than they hear. Did I say that right? They catch more than what is, taught. So if you exactly. say something verbally, that's a seed that goes in the ground. It takes a while for it to take root. But if they see something, then they tend to do that because they're impressionable. They're soft. They're like a sponge. They soak up environments, precious like that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Also, you have to understand this. Like it's kind of piggyback on what you said, Coach. Our children are, like you said, they're sponges. It's easier for a child, and most people learn more so visually than being told what to do. If for example, I'm a perfect example of that. If I'm learning in a classroom, teacher says, I'm gonna teach you how to do this. I'm gonna show you how to do this. Listen to this. Normally, what I say is, show me one time, let me see you do it, and then I got it.
Right. Exactly.
And that's how a lot of times that's how our kids look at it. Well, and then the other thing you have to understand, being a care provider, an adult, a parent. If mom and daddy do it, then that gives me the okay to say, okay, you know what, my mama did it, my daddy did it, so that means it's okay, I can do it.
Right. And the thing that I would like to encourage people to, I don't know if we have somebody trying to call in or not. I was just checking here. The thing that I would like to encourage everybody to understand is that while the children sound like they know what they're talking about, logic doesn't kick in for boys particularly until they're late teens. I'm talking about late 17, 18, 19. Sometimes it don't even kick in until 19, 20, 21, unfortunately. But
right.
So, back to prove what you're saying. Yes, Keenan, you got a call coming in here. I'm going to go ahead and take it and then put them on hold for 1 second. Stand by, okay?
Not a problem.
You're on the Keenan Lake Show. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Hi, this is Jarvis Buchanan calling from Asheville, North Carolina. How are you two doing today?
I'm doing all right. Keenan, can you hear him?
I can hear you. Did he say that was Jarvis?
Yeah. Jarvis, man.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome aboard, man. Let me finish this thought, and we're going to bring you right on into it, Jarvis. Keenan, I was saying, to prove that kids are impressionable, most times parents are offset by the children's language. But even that has been mocked. That has been what they have picked up from their homeboys, from the teachers, or some people around the block, and even in the home. So while they sound intelligent, and they are intelligent, we mistake logic and reasoning in their early development, and so we automatically think, okay, he understands, she know what I'm talking about. But the greatest style of management for a parent is to do follow up, and as you said so eloquently, to make sure that your example is confirming your words, and not you beating the child down because they're not following the things that you're saying, man. Jarvis, man, welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the Keenan Lake Show. Everybody, put your hands together.
Thank you. much. It is such a pleasure to be a part of what you guys are doing on the Keenan Lake Show. I have had an opportunity to listen to both the previous editions, and I am just wanting to say that I am proud of you, Keenan, and I want you to continue doing great things for the community.
Well, weigh in. Thank you so much. Weigh in on today's topic. Youth may not listen, but they will imitate you, as Keenan has brought forth for today's show.
Absolutely. In terms of my perspective, I bring an interesting, diverse, and broad perspective to that topic, and in keeping with my military career, as well as a psychology background that I have and a leadership and management degree that I've gotten over time, I've been able to kind of look at that from different aspects. And I start with my military background. And if you guys will allow me to bore you for a quick second, I'll go into a brief synopsis of how we went into to Afghanistan. And in terms of how we wanted to fight that fight, we went in to capture the minds of the children, based on the fact that we understood that the fight, to a certain extent, was not with the adults, because after so long, you cannot change certain mindsets that you have with certain people. So we went in to try to win the battle of influence with the kids. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing that has to happen in terms of what we're doing here with our children. And if you don't think that the mindset of kids are impacted and they imitate what their parents do, then just take a look at what history has taught us in terms of what a child becomes after they have actually been molded by their parents. So I do think that they have a very definite impact on their parents have a definite impact on our kids, and that we have to take a look at the second and third order effects that also influence the imitation that the things that they're imitating, because when you look at the role of our parents in our communities now, and we look at what I think the most systemic problem in minority development is a value issue that we have. And I think that our children are being handed this subconsciously because we undervalue our minorities and poor Americans. So I can continue unless you guys want to interject real quick and give me some thoughts on.
Well, I wanted to confirm what you were saying about Afghanistan, because I even heard in the political arena of talking points many years ago that when they wanted to consider whether or not they were going to go into Iran, the discussions were loud and clear that the youth of Iran did not want this. Not whether it's true or not, that's another debate. But what I'm saying is that the discussions in America was whether the youth wanted this or not. And so when you're putting together masterminds for communities and regions and things of that nature, by all means, it must be understood for those parents that are listening that, if you're not going to train your child, as Keenan has said before, and I'm sure he will reiterate, and he said it in his book, if you're not going to train your child, someone has a mastermind and master plan for them. Right, Keenan?
That's exactly right. That's one thing I tell all my parents, and Jarvis, you said it brilliantly. But that's it. If you're not parenting your children, teaching your children, if you're not instilling the ways that you want them to go, then somebody else out there will. And in the majority of cases, if somebody else is training and teaching your child, they're not training and teaching them the way that you would probably teach them. And in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, they're teaching them in the ways that's going to benefit them, and something that's going to the outcome is going to be towards their benefit.
But I think what Jarvis,
so you have to.
But
go ahead, Coach.
I think that's what Jarvis was saying, though. He's saying, I think, Jarvis, you correct me if I'm wrong. Parents are asleep because they do not realize that the monetary, so-called capitalistic philosophy in the Western culture hinges on the sociological and economical patterns of families and communities. And so it's no secret that in the minority or African American community, we can make billions of dollars, not just in how we consume goods, but in how we will not be graduates of high school, how that we will drop out of college. I mean, the percentages and all the numbers have been guaranteed based on patterns. The best predictor of any behavior is past patterns. You see what I'm saying, Jarvis? Is that what you're saying?
That is absolutely correct. That is where that point was going to end. And in terms of the patterns, you'll see that someone is always trying to expose your child to something during different stages of their life. And I think Keenan himself actually made this point once before. As you walk into the grocery store, if you don't have a list and you don't keep your children away from the sugary aisle, they will put foods that will be captivating to that child on that aisle.
Right.
If you don't watch what your kids are watching on TV, mainstream media will allow them to be sucked into the hip-hop arena and a lot of the other negative things that are going on with the media. So you have to be careful because your child is going to be molded by someone, and you want that person to be you. And the more you are out of touch with what's going on right now and with the developing trends of what's new and what's coming, the more out of reach your child comes to you.
Hey, we're going to go to a commercial break, and we'll be right back. I want to pick up back on Keenan's thought. Youth may not listen, but they will imitate you, and if they imitate you, it's going to profit someone else if that imitation is not planned. You think about that, and we'll be right back after the break. Keenan, y'all stand by.
No problem.
You're listening to SIBN Radio. We'll be right back in a moment. Now is the time to have your business online with the Select USA TV iBroadcasting Network. That's right, SIBN or Select USA TV will produce your video on the spot. Picture business videos, on location streaming videos, or on location production videos. Dial 678-830-3118 or call the office at 404-910-5019 Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now is the time to have your business online with SIBN. The Select USA TV iBroadcasting Network now offers picture videos, on-location streaming videos, and on-location production videos for your event, cause, brand, or mission. Call today, 678-830-3118 or 404-910-5019. Attention all artists of all genres. Now you can be featured on Gas Global Artist Showcase on the CATL show, airing now on SIBN Radio. That's right, all artists now, all genres, wholesome and positive please, can be featured on Gas Global Artist Showcase. Global Artist Showcase on the CATL show, now airing on SIBN Radio. For more information, dial 404-910-5019. That's 404-910-5019. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's right. Or email us at globalcoverage@selectusatv.info.
This is SIBN Radio. And you have just tuned in to the Keenan Lake Show. I'm your host, Keenan Lake. I am a published author, book My Daddy Taught Me That, a public speaker, and the president of a men's development youth program. The purpose of this show is to create awareness on topics that are dear to my heart, primarily absent fathers, male role models in the home, youth and young adults and children, families, and neglect and abuse. I not only want to shine a light on these topics and create awareness on these topics, I want to educate, inform, encourage, and motivate. So please join us on the Keenan Lake Show. For more information about the Keenan Lake Show, give us a call at 415-967-8255. 2346. And we thank you for listening to SIBN Radio.
Well, welcome back to the Keenan Lake Show, man. Keenan Lake, and we also have a special guest on the phone. Introduce yourself formally before we continue. Jarvis.
Guys, again, thank you for having me on your show this morning. I am Jarvis Buchanan, as I indicated before. I am currently working as an active duty engineer commander in Asheville, North Carolina. I have linked up with Keenan before in reference to youth development here. I am an activist for youth development and education. I have authored 2 children's books. I schooled at the University of Mississippi, where I received a psychology degree, and I received my master's degree from Western University. So been in the military for 10 years, going on 11 now, loving that career, and also delving a little bit more into my passion for youth development.
Well, man, we welcome you to SIBN Radio, the Keenan Lake Show. Keenan, continuing on with the thought from today, youth may not listen, but they will imitate. What else you got for the folks?
Well, I want to let the audience know about. I'm going to tell a brief story real quick. And this happened with one of my programs. In fact, one of my good friends, she actually reminded me about this. When I have my men discussion groups, I have guest speakers come to talk to my youth and discuss with them about certain things. We cover a variety of different topics. But one day I had a guest speaker come talk to my friends, and he was actually just getting out of prison. He's a felon and had lived a really violent criminal life. Okay, and he sat down before my group. He told my boys, what he got into, how not to get in the same trouble that he got into, how to stay out of trouble, this, that, and the third. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that he pointed out, and he told my group, was this. He said, "What I like to look for is impressionable young men who I can influence." He said, "I prey on young men." These are his exact words. He said, "I prey on young men, and I look for young men who are easily influenced, so I can get them to do whatever it is that I want them to do." And then he made it very clear. I don't care about you. I can care less about the trouble that you get into. I can care less about the outcome or your circumstances. I look for young men who are impressionable, so I can get them to do whatever it is that I want them to do. And he told them this, and he made it very clear that this is not only the way he thinks, but this is the way the majority of folks, particularly in the streets, think. And so, with that being said, to all my families out there, to all my parents, to all my caretakers, you have to understand that there are people out there who can care less about your child, your children. In fact, we all know, particularly with the type of work that I do, there are people who don't care about their own kids. So we have to make sure that when we're raising our kids, not only are we showing them the right things, not only are we giving them the right advice, not only are we allowing them to see how we're living in that perfect, good example, but we have to make sure that they're aware of what's going on outside of that as well, too.
Well, I think, Keenan, what has happened, and Jarvis, you can weigh in on this. We've got about 5 minutes solid to go, 6 minutes maybe. But listen, I think part of what the problem has been is that there had been a generation that had children. And for whatever reasons, we know that according to purpose and destiny, the master plan, particularly spiritually, is different from our intention. But for the sake of this example, we had a generation of folks that had kids that had no idea of the responsibility therein. And so therefore, I don't think as they grew, they were aware of the things that you just so eloquently said, Keenan, and what Jarvis has mentioned, that there's a mastermind and that there are those who understand the real roots of capitalism lies within the youth culture. And so what I would say to those parents who were not aware of these things, as Keenan has talked about in his shows, which all of his shows need to be downloaded right there on the SIBN Radio website, or I don't know if Keenan has a chance to put it on his website, but you need to download the show because you need to understand that these are real realities. And what I want to leave with you today, there's one statement I want to leave with you today as parents, as pastors of your communities, because we are a type of parent, as teachers, is that we are the first line of impression. What we impress the kids with is hard to erase. Jarvis, weigh in on that point right there.
I think you two are actually absolutely right. And if we're not careful, we will allow others to come in and mold our children to something that is that will be profitable for them in the future. So we have to be a force that is always surrounding our children as they are being exposed to different things in the world, and it's quite a balance that we have to juggle. So we have to ensure that they are capable of understanding society and capable of being sociable and going out and finding things that are important to them or that they like to do, but we have to shelter them just enough so that they aren't exposed to those negative things. And this is really something that has to be done by a village and not just those two parents or one parent in certain cases, so that we all could ensure a better crop for ourselves.
When I think about the title of that book, Keenan, and I want to just plug that one more time, because those of you that are sitting on your couches listening to this, at your computer stations listening to this, you're listening to this on your iPods and your cars, I want you to understand that when you see that title, My Daddy Taught Me That, and Keenan, you weigh in on this, I think, Keenan, what you may be saying subconsciously is that my dad's village was a system. And so the system of my father taught me what the systems of this world could never teach me. And I need you, Keenan, as we come to a close, to expand on the system of daddy. Can you talk about that for a minute as we head toward a close? We got about 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. I sure can. And you're exactly right, Coach. You're exactly right. First of all, I don't want to leave out, mothers are very important. Mothers are the lifeblood of this world. Without mothers, who knows where we'll be. So I don't want to exclude any mothers out there. You guys are doing a wonderful job. But like you said, Coach, when you talk about, first of all, that title, My Daddy Taught Me That, it focuses on exactly what you said. And it's sad because I didn't realize how much my dad taught me until he actually passed away. Mm-hmm. But being able to have that courage, that strength, being able to have that instilled in an early age has allowed me to be a confident man later on in life.
Right.
And that's one of the things that a father does. He gives not only his son, but his daughter as well. He instills that confidence. He instills that ability to, when your children are out in the world, they can hold their head up high and say, you know what, my daddy is my protector. My daddy's protector. So with that type of parenting and nurturing from that father standpoint, it later propels you to be more confident adults later on in life. And being able to get that education, that training that your father has taught you, primarily if it's the right teachings and the right training, it just goes hand in hand with how you can be so successful and so confident to be better individuals later on in life.
Well, I think, Keenan, it ties in real quick. Jarvis, you have the last word on this. I think it ties in, though. My daddy, let's just go back to the village for a moment, what Jarvis was talking about. The African history outweighs the African American history. Let's make sure we understand that. We were not always as we are now. We were rich. We were rich in value. We were rich in ethics. We were rich in tradition. We knew who we were. Everybody wanted to come and invade our land, our minerals, our resources, strip us of our languages and of our traditions. And so we have found ourselves in a pool that doesn't have enough water here. And I think that what Jarvis was saying is we've got to find a way to be our own masterminds. I think that's what you're doing, Keenan. We got to be a mastermind for our communities to ensure that we preserve something for the generations, the little boys and girls that are coming up, the little boys and girls that are having boys and girls will be able to see some preservation of who we are. I mean, we're in a pool without enough water. Jarvis, you got the last word.
Okay, great. And I definitely appreciate, once again, you guys allowing me to sit on the show with you. And I do want to give my stamp of agreement with what you just said. The value of our children is very important. If we're not careful, that value will be harvested by someone else. If we, as parents and as concerned parents and people in society, don't step up, we will lose a lot of a lot of the talents that have been bestowed on our children and on our culture and in our society for us to be able to capitalize on as we send children out into the world. So it is important for us to understand that that children are impressionable and that they are being targeted by particular organizations that would like to see the profit for them. But if we are to steal that profit and to win that battle, we have to understand that we're going to have to stay engaged, and we must be able to relate to our children.
Keenan, man, you always do it, man. The show is always so hot, but we're out of time. Tell them one more time how to follow you on Twitter, the fan page, and plug that website one more time.
All right, folks. Again, I want to thank you for listening to another episode of the Keenan Lake Show. Follow me at Twitter at the KL Show. Also, go to my fan page on Facebook, The Keenan Lake Show. And the website is mydaddytaughtmethat.com. I want to thank my guest today, Jarvis Buchanan, who's also a very good author in his own right. The book, I Dream in Color, that's his book, Jarvis Buchanan. And again, make sure you get a copy of my book, My Daddy Taught Me That. Contact me on mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Love to get you an autographed copy. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
All right, you guys stand by.
Thank you for joining us today for the Keenan Lake Show. We know you will be empowered as you consider the content shared by Mr. Keenan Lake, co-host Marcus Select, and our guests. For more information about Mr. Keenan Lake, please visit www.mydaddytaughtmethat and feel free to email us at lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com. Books can be ordered from Mr. Lake by calling 828-582-2261. Until next time, you've been listening to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio.